Hello everyone, Bob here. Today we're going to talk about the Digibook release of Poltergeist. Now, Poltergeist stars Craig T. Nelson and Jo Beth Williams. The film was directed by Tobe Hooper of Texas Chainsaw Massacre fame, and the film came out in 1982. Here's inside the Digibook. And then there is the disc. The film follows a family named the Freelings, and they live in a housing development, and several weird occurrences start happening. Furniture starts stacking itself. Things move. There are weird things with the lights. And one night, their youngest daughter, Carol Ann, hears voices coming out of the TV, and she says they're here, the TV people. And eventually, in the next couple days, she's kidnapped or abducted into the spirit realm, and the rest of the movie is about the parents, Craig T. Nelson and Jo Beth Williams, trying to get her back. And it's a good haunted house movie. It's very enjoyable. Steven Spielberg was producer, and I believe, yes, he even had a writing credit on the screenplay. It's a good movie all around. Jerry Goldsmith has a wonderful score to go along with this. It's a solid movie, and if you like haunted house movies, I very much recommend it. Sadly, this film is also known for having the quote-unquote poltergeist curse. Dominic Dune, who plays the older daughter in this film, was strangled by her ex-boyfriend, John Thomas Sweeney. He was convicted of manslaughter and sentenced to 6 years in prison. The little girl, Heather O'Rourke, Carol Ann, the iconic girl that's in the poster that most horror fans, I'm sure, are familiar with. Unfortunately, she died at the age of 12 due to a undetected obstruction, and it's kind of sad. She never really had a shot at life. Between the two dying and reports of actual skeletons and such being used on a set, there was rumors of a poltergeist curse. I'm not going to comment, of course, about whether curses are real or not, but the reasoning behind using the skeletons, so the people say, was because it was cheaper to use real human skeletons than it was to build prop ones. One of the things that makes this film so effective is the fact that it takes place in the suburbs. It takes place in suburban America. It takes place in a house that could be your house, it could be my house, it could be your neighbor's house, it could be anywhere. It's not in some rickety old haunted house somewhere off by itself. It's definitely in hits a little closer to home, and I think that's one of the things that's true with a lot of the successful horror films. They take place in every town USA, and almost anyone watching says, well, I know a street that looks like that, or I know that looks like so-and-so's house. To me, that adds a little element of terror that helps make this thing work. Eventually, Mrs. Freeling does go into the spirit world and brings Carol Ann back. And the following sequence is probably the one that I really have the hardest time understanding why it happens this way in the movie. The next morning after they rescue Carol Ann from the spirit world, they're packing up and they're talking about how they're not going to spend another night in the house. Well, the next thing you know, their kids are being tucked away in bed and she's getting in the tub. And yeah, it just raises a bunch of questions. Of course, the supernatural poltergeist is not gone. And spirits try to abduct. This time they try to abduct Carol Ann and her brother, and eventually Mrs. Freeling gets the kids out of the house, not before the skeletons start coming up out of the floor. Now, the reason this poltergeist is being experienced is because the housing development that the Freelings live in is built on top of a cemetery, and the cemetery was moved, but not the bodies. And that's something that angered the spirits and caused them, at least through the first film, is one of the reasons why such supernatural activity is happening, because the spirits are restless because their bodies were left there and they only moved the headstones. James Karen is also in this film. Many of you may recognize him from Return of the Living Dead. He is the guy that owns the housing development, or the developer, or whatever you want to call him. And he does a good job of acting like a, I don't mean to offend anyone, but he does a good job of acting like your typical salesman. And he does a good job. The acting in this film is great. I'd recommend you check it out. Final rating on this film, I want to give it a 9 out of 10. It's a solid horror movie. It's one of the many movies from the 1980s that is a very good horror film, and I recommend you check it out. Yes, this film is followed by 2 more entries in the franchise, which I will discuss, as well as a TV series. I'm not going to focus on the TV series, just the 2 movies. Craig T. Nelson, Joe Beth Williams, and company come back for the first sequel. The second sequel, it's just Heather O'Rourke, and they are in a skyscraper in Chicago in that film. But that's all I've got for this review. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the content of this video, please give me a like, and please consider subscribing to this channel. I try to have new content daily. We are upon the horror film season here. We're entering fall, and especially when we get into October, my horror content's going to get really ramped up. So if you guys want to see it, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell notification so you know when the next video's up. Follow me on Facebook or Twitter. Updates will be forthcoming on there. And as always, be safe, everyone, and thanks for watching. This is Bob, signing off.